So today, what I'm going to talk about are kind of my top 10 favorite Minecraft vanilla mods, because I prefer mods that only deal with vanilla Minecraft and don't really change how the game is played, but rather enhance the entire experience. So these first couple are in order of my favorite, but then after that I will say what's not in order. So the first one is, if you look up here where my mouse is right now, is Sodium Renderer. And that is kind of like the all-encompassing version of Optifine. And what it also does is it optimizes basically rendering of the game. So I'll go into Optifine later, but if we take a look, if I go to my video settings and crank that up, VSync is off. So if we see, I'm getting 250 to 300 FPS, which, I mean, doesn't really matter because my monitor is only 60 Hertz, but that's kind of what it does. It enhances the loading of the world. So if I go and load new chunks, you can still see I'm generating about 150 FPS. And once they're all loaded, I go back up to 200 plus FPS. And we'll take a look at comparison of what Optifine does. So along with sodium, we can use something called hydrogen, and that basically reduces the amount of memory required for the game to run. So it's especially good for servers and lower end computers. And the last one of the sodium saga is something called Lithium. Now this is really more for servers, but Lithium works in tandem with sodium and hydrogen to reduce or improve the game's overall ticking ability, because technically each world is run by like a server, or in quotes, a server, and Lithium improves the tick of that server, of that world per se. So this can free up a computer's processor, so CPU, to focus on other stuff either in the background or within the game. And while I was talking about sodium, you may have noticed the Sodium Renderer and Iris version. So Iris is kind of like the data pack or the resource pack that can be used within sodium. So it just adds data packs that work with sodium, because without sodium, data packs, or resource packs, sorry, would not be available within usage of sodium. Now to Optifine. The reason why Optifine is lower on my tier list is, one, you can tell right now that me literally just standing here, I only get 150 FPS. While with sodium, I was getting well over 200, almost 300 FPS just standing here. And if we go to load new chunks this way, that drops almost to 60 FPS. 71 was the lowest if you look on the top right there. So loading in these new chunks reduces the FPS by quite a bit, and the max isn't even that good. So that's kind of why I have sodium. Now Optifine has its benefits, because if we go ahead and come down here, grab some glass, if we just do, this is connected textures, which is really nice to have because it looks visually better than just straight up glass. So that's kind of why I think most people stick with Optifine rather than switch to sodium. But I have just loaded back into the world, and as you can tell in my hand, we still have connected textured glass. But if I press F3, we can tell that I am back in the Sodium Renderer and Iris. So how the heck am I running connected textures with sodium? Well, there is a mod called Connected Textures mod for Fabric. And this is part of the original Connected Textures mod. And with that mod and the resource pack, Simple Connected Textures 1.1.0.zip, as it loads again, have connected textures using sodium, which would otherwise be impossible. So the last mod that I think should be listed is Logical Zoom. Now what Logical Zoom is, the Optifine version of Zoom. So when I press C, as you can tell, I'm still in sodium, so I'm using fabric. If I press C, I can zoom in just like you would at the same field of view as you would in sodium, and it works the exact same way no matter what. So Logical Geek Boy made this mod, and it is awesome because it does the same thing that Optifine can do with the zoom button. Now these next few mods are not going to be ordered by greatness or usefulness or whatever. These are more of the mods that I believe can be used in restraint to make vanilla Minecraft really, really useful. And the first one is something called Tweakeroo. Now, if you're an avid watcher of Ilmango or even myself, you know what Tweakeroo is. Tweakeroo can be used for many things, but the main one that I like to use is accurate block placement. So normally a piston gets placed like this. It's whatever direction you are facing. But if I hold control, as an example, I can place a block 1 block away from any direction I want in any orientation I want. Or I can place a block, any block, not necessarily a piston, any block directly on the sides of it. So I can make a staircase going up or even a staircase going down. And that is incredibly useful. So I don't have to, staircase is going down, I have to come all the way down to make it all the way up, and so on. It makes it so much better. And for directional blocks like pistons, I can place the blocks directly facing whatever direction I want. So the first one is I can place a block into another block. So as you saw there, I placed this piston down into this block. And the other one is I can face this piston the opposite direction from where it should be. So like that one should be facing that way, but I can reverse it completely, or it's facing that way, reverse it completely. That's the main thing I can use Tweakeroo for. Another thing Tweakeroo is good for is for AFKing at certain farm types. So what I do at my tree farm is use the hold use. So as an example, if I grab a bucket, I can infinitely use any buckets that I have. So like if I had an inventory full of buckets, I can infinitely use that. Or like at tree farms, I can hold down a sapling with hold use, and it will auto place saplings when the tree farm is ready. And that is useful for AFKing at farms that require to hold use. Another thing that you can use Tweaker for is actually something called periodic attack. So right now, my hands are both off the keyboard and off the mouse. With the periodic attack, it will attack at certain intervals and, strike whatever you need. So I can do that with my hand as well, or with a sword, axe, whatever. And this can be useful for spawner farms, like zombie, skeleton, cave spider. Or on the flip side, it can be useful for piglin, or not piglin farms, zombie piglin farms that for gold farms. So you need XP, attack, or even enderman farms. You can use this to periodically attack, and you can AFK and just stand there and swipe at whatever you are trying to kill. And lastly, for Tweakeroo, I can use something called the free cam. So as you can see, I'm using a free camera that goes around my body that is not a spectator mode. So I cannot move my player, but I can move around with the spectator account. So I can go underground, or what I use it for is to observe redstone contraptions. So while I am sitting here, AFKing at this redstone farm, instead of having to fly around through it, I can fly right through the farm to see what is happening, what is wrong with it, or what I can improve on. And when I turn it off, I fly right back to my body. So if I just fly way over here, way away from myself, this is where where my player has stopped rendering the world. If I turn it off, I go immediately back to my player. So the next mod that I want to talk about is something called Minihud. Now, Minihud does a lot of things, and kind of the easiest thing to visualize at the moment is when I press the H key on my keyboard, you can see it brings up a menu in the top left corner, where for me it shows FPS, the date, and local time, I believe. Yes, local time, and my position XYZ, what direction I'm facing, the TPS of the world, and the MSPT, and if I was on the server, it would show my ping as well. And that's kind of just the basics of it. So if I hold H and press C, it brings up a Minihud configs menu. And as you can tell, there are a whole bunch of options you can have. So what I have in the top left is kind of what I mainly use it for. Another thing you can use it for, if I just get a bit higher, is if I go to shapes, I can add a despawn sphere. Add, enable, and if I go to hotkeys, it will overlay the shape renderer when I hold H and press U. So as you can tell, it brings up a sphere size radius 128. So when I go into spectator mode and go below the ground, you can see that anywhere in the sphere, mobs can spawn. So this is good for mob proofing, like say your underground base area, or mob proofing the nether roof if you build a gold farm or bartering trading hall too low on the roof. You can spawn proof the whole area and see what you need to, slab up or whatever. Another thing that Minihud is good for is actually on the ground a light level overlay. So if I press, in my case, F7, it brings up these numbers. So if I grab a torch, when I place this torch down, these numbers change based on the light level that is around you. So I can go ahead and spawn proof this whole area without needing to open F3 and walk on every block imaginable to find a spawn proof. So it's especially good in caves when it can get a little tricky to see where stuff is. Ooh, a ravine. But like in ravines, when you have this type of area, like, you might think this might be spawn proof because it's light level 6 and 7, so it's really close, but you'll miss like one block and it's very easy to spot where the mobs are spawning. Another extremely powerful mod to use for vanilla Minecraft is something called Litematica. So if I press M and R, nothing shows up except a menu on the bottom. But that menu goes away when you're not holding the correct tool, which in this case is a stick. So if I press M, it brings up another UI overlay, which you can place schematics that you have created. Now, I won't really go into the details of how to create schematics, but once you create one and you click load, there is an entire list of updates that you can use. Now, as you can tell, I have been using this for quite a while, and there are a lot of mods. Or schematics, I mean. So if I go, based on my last video, the villager breeder, if I do that, it brings up that villager breeder that is next to my villager trading hall area. And as you can tell, it brings up everything, including entities. So if there was a random blocks in here, it would bring that up as well. Now, the cool thing with Litematica is once you have the schematic, if I press M and hold M and press L, it brings up a material list for whatever schematic you have brought up. And if I go here and do white glass and just grab a stack, you can see that I'm missing 228, but I have 64 in my inventory. And if I do the same for spruce slabs, grab a stack, hold M, press L, I am missing 45 from the placement in the schematic, but I have available 64. So I have more than is needed to complete the schematic. And the cool thing is that I can move the schematic however I want by holding Alt. So if I hold Alt with the tool in my hand, I can move the schematic however I please. So if you need it in a very specific spot, like if you have built something in creative to go in a very specific spot, you can move the schematic to within one block in all three directions. So you can move it forwards, left, right, or up and down. So it is a very powerful tool. And if you don't want to build a schematic with everything in, you can go to render layers and single layer. And now it only renders in a single layer at some Y level. And by doing page up and down, you can render in every level that you need. So I can go to level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's only like 14 layers, and you can go through the whole thing from the ground up without needing to see the entire thing. So it is an extremely powerful tool for Minecraft. And kind of the last mod I'll just gloss over is replay mod. Now, replay mod allows Minecraft players to take basically a video of the in-game world entirely, so it can be sped up into mere seconds. So if I had a replay that was like 6 hours long or something with me building or running around, I can then speed that 6-hour footage into like a 30-second video. So it's good for that. I really won't go into specifics on how to use it because there are hundreds of videos and forums and online tutorials on that very specific mod. And the last mod I'll go over that, again, I'll just gloss over is the word or phrase, is Worldedit. Worldedit allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff, and I really won't get into the specifics on how to use it because, again, there are probably even thousands of online videos, tutorials, and forums for Worldedit in its own right. Now, these next few mods are kind of just bonus ones that you can have that I don't really recommend you having, but are very nice to have. So all of the mods that I've gone over are a lot. There's just a lot of mods that I have just covered in the last couple of minutes. And when there's a new version or updates to these, how are you supposed to know without looking through a list of 100 mods that I just gave you? Well, if I go to another mod menu, there's, where is it? A mod called Fabrilous Updater. And as the description shows, it is an easy mod updater for Fabric. So once you install it in your mod menu, you can do fabdate update, and you can see it is checking all of your mods in your mod folder and seeing if there is an update on either CurseForge or Modrinth. So reputable mod sites, and once it has gone through all of it, once it has gone through your entire mod list and checked if there was an update for it based on the version you have, it will say, okay, here's an update for that mod. You can directly download it or leave it. But if it can't find one, like for Litematica or Replay mod, then it shows you an error that says it's not found. But another way to do it is do fabdate auto update, and it will give you a warning, says it will delete old mods and download new versions. So I'll just click OK, and it will go through the check again. And as you can tell, or as you see, it is auto updating those 3 mods that needed downloads. But it says it deletes those old mods, but it actually doesn't. It just leaves the old mods in the folder. So you will have to go into your mod folder and delete the old ones. But the bonus is you don't have to go online and search for those updates. Mod Fabrilous Update does all of that for you. So I hope you found this video helpful and maybe gave you some ideas on what mods you can get for your own world. And I personally do not believe that any of these mods change the game of vanilla Minecraft. So the first couple were more just optimizations for the game to make it run even smoother, because the vanilla game does not run smoothly at all. And then the last few were add-ons to the game that enhance vanilla Minecraft, but keep the vanilla feel by just allowing you to do a couple extra things that will make your life easier. Now, I do recommend you get either Optifine or Sodium version, the Sodium package, because it makes the game run, either one makes the game run extremely smoothly and reduces the load on, say, a laptop. It reduces the laptop load that is required to run Minecraft. And if you get Sodium or Optifine, you can run the game at even higher render distances. So I hope you enjoyed it. Everyone stay happy, stay healthy, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.